Hello. Oh shit. Wait. What? Hi, it's me. It's up there. We go. Okay. Well, there's that. Why does it say Effie and NJ are here? I guess they're here. Who knows? Alright. I mean, I'll have them there. Hi. Hello. Let me create a media source. Application, display capture, game capture. Oh. Window capture. Oh shit, shit, that's bad, that's oh god, oh god. Okay. Bro, that's crazy. Fuck, bro. I hope nothing bad is there. Let me move those two down a bit. And let me move this down more. Okay. So cool. All right, so now we're set up. Hello everyone, welcome to How to Watch the Fate series, explained by Maeve Mallow. Let me get a drink of liquid. I'm gonna zoom in here so you can see this a bit clearer. It's very important that you can see this. Okay. I don't want... Stop it. Okay. So, right here is my personal bias. We're gonna try to ignore that for now. What do you mean, bro? What is this? This is How to Watch the Fate series. So, we're gonna start here. So, with the order of release, we're gonna go through this real fast, right? So, here we have Fate Stay Night, released in January of 2006. As you can see, I've written this. Not recommended. Terrible. Do not watch. Oh, hi. Well, okay. It's okay. Everyone can tell that was Effie because the fucking Fugi, the little animation moved. They're so weird. Okay. Well, the original Fate Stay Night, it's something. The animation has not aged well. It is a very poor depiction of Shiro Emiya. I did make this, yeah. It's a very poor depiction of Shiro Emiya. Oh, no one heard it? Good. It's a very poor depiction of Shiro Emiya. I think, it's just like, all in all, oh, what the fuck? It undid itself. Why did it do that? Okay. Sorry. So it's not great, right? Okay, so, sorry, I forgot to preface by saying, this sheet is called 3 Ways to Watch a Fate series. Really, it's only 2 ways, because, the third way is really just me explaining what you shouldn't do. You should not watch it in release order. I know a lot of anime, manga, if you're just getting to the Fate, you're like, why can't I just watch it in order of release? Doesn't work that way. And I'll explain why. You can also, there's also the timeline. I would not recommend watching it timeline either. I guess technically you could watch in order of release, because, like, I'm sure there are people out there, some people who were into anime in 2006 and they watched it in order of release. Sure, do whatever you want. I just personally would not recommend watching it in timeline order. People have been saying, like, people like who I've tried to get into Fate have said, like, oh, we can watch it in the timeline, just like, you know, the timeline. How does it go? What happens first? What happens second? What happens third? Except the timeline is wider than it is long. You think that this is going down, but actually it just goes here, and then and then ends at Strange Fake, and then these are 2 separate timelines that I just had to put here because it was so wide and I didn't want to make it any wider. So don't watch it timeline wise. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't work. Sorry, what I meant was that the timeline way was the way that you shouldn't do it. I actually don't mind watching it order of release too much, because that's probably how people watched it, like back in like 2006, all the way, if they just kept getting into it and they were. But yeah, so order of release. The Unlimited Blade Works movie, this is really specific. I think it's you have to be really careful when you look up Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, because it's there's two studios that have done Fate like Stay Night, and those two studios, one of them is a lot better than the other. I won't say the other one's bad, but like because like they did make Konosuba, and Konosuba was really good, but just the way it was adapted was really done really poorly. The way that Fate Stay Night the anime was adapted, it kind of like slaughtered Shiro's character. It's sort of like how people who are diehard fans of Sword Art Online will say that Kirito is actually a really good character because in the light novel you can hear his like, what do you mean Dean animated Konosuba? Yeah, hold on, Konosuba. Oh, am I gonna have to look this up? Manga anime Studio Dean seasons 1 to 2. Yeah, Studio Dean. Anyways, so it's similar to how people who say like, oh, if you read the light novel, Kirito is actually really in-depth character, but in the anime they just don't show his like inner thoughts. That's how people were a lot of the time. They were like, oh, you have to read the visual novel because in Fate Stay Night they don't really explain Shiro's like thought process and whatever. And for a long time, people who only watched the anime were like, oh, Shiro's like a really like boring like basic like self-insert character, and he's just like he's so like he has like this like he's just so like annoying. He's like Saber's clearly stronger than him. Why does he keep wanting to protect her? And Dean makes it really difficult to like they don't properly explain why he's like that. Whereas Stay Night really like focuses on like telling you why. UFO Table really focuses on telling you why there's a reason why he's like that, and he is wrong in the way he treats Saber and Din and all the other characters, but he continues to do so anyways. And part of that has to do with the fact that the Fate route kind of provides no like attrition for his character arc, so it's a fault of the route itself, but at the same time also a fault of the way they adapted him. But overall, I just wouldn't recommend it. When I watched it, I was bored, and I was already like super into Fate already, so I fell asleep during like the last like 3 episodes of Fate Stay Night, and I don't know if that's because it was bad or because I was tired, but I just didn't find it very good, and that's my personal review of it. I've never seen the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works movie, but from what I've heard, it's a lot worse than the 2014, and because the 2014 exists, personally, I just wouldn't watch it anyways, because it tells the exact same thing that the anime does, except the 2014 one is just more, like, quality. And with their track record with Stay Night, the anime series, I don't have high hopes for the movie to begin with, and it's also a movie, so it's like, versus like a cut, like a 24 episode anime series, I just wouldn't. It's just I'm sure there's a lot being missed in a movie like that. Carnival Phantasm was released then. You know what I'll do? We'll go through this list real fast. So if you want to watch it in like release order, Carnival Phantasm next, Phase Zero next, I would still recommend watching all of the Prisma Ilia ones back to back rather than in release order, but to Zwei and then pausing to watch Blade Works and then back to Prisma Ilia and then first order again. It doesn't seem right, but watching a release order of Stay Nights is fine. And then, to be honest, like all this here, I can zoom out for you. I'm gonna link this sheet in the description or something later, but once the stream's over. But this is the full release order, and I guess it's fine. There's a lot of breakups like between each one. There's today like this one and then this one are all connected. I color coded the ones that are connected, but yeah, in between them there's like just a bunch of random stuff, and like all the blue ones, the Grand Order ones are also connected, but they're being broken up by a bunch of other stuff. So if you were gonna watch an order of release, that's fine, but I would probably group up all the ones with the colors that are the same instead of hopping back and forth. Another thing is Fate Strange Fake is only 1 episode out, and it's the most recent one. It came out in December 2024. As of this moment, they haven't made any new episodes for Strange Fake, so you can probably hold off on watching it. Although I think it's really good. Personally, it's probably like the best Fate thing we've gotten since like Heaven's Feel Spring Song. I'm not gonna lie. So that's like what, in 4 years. So now this is my suggested order. So I would recommend. A lot of people have heated debates whether you should watch Fate Zero first or you should watch Unlimited Blade Works first. Some people like to say you should watch the Dean Stay Night first. In my personal opinion, if you're gonna get someone into Fate, you really, really, really shouldn't start with a Dean Stay Night. Unless they already have like basically in their mind confirmed that they want to get into Fate, because I've seen a lot of people try to get into Fate and then they watch Dean Stay Night and then they're turned off from it because they're like, man, that sucked. So in my opinion, it's either Fate Zero or it's Unlimited Blade Works. Do not watch Heaven's Feel first. I think everyone just generally agrees not to do that because Heaven's Feel requires well, first of all, it's like a movie trilogy, so it skips like the first like couple, like the first like day or two, highlighted in the prologue and like the first episode of Unlimited Blade Works. So that's why I recommend watching UBW first. Now, in terms of Fate Zero versus Unlimited Blade Works, I think there's a argument to be made for both, but the way that it's made is that Fate Zero spoils Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel. It's a very it's a character who, I'm not going to say who, but it's a character who has a big history, and it slowly gets revealed, and like with twist after twist along these three movies or along the route in the visual novel, that really like are like bam, like that's a crazy plot twist, like holy shit kind of plot twist that I feel like are so impactful that like and I'm saying this as a person who like doesn't mind spoilers too often. Like when I heard about like my friend watching Endgame early, I was like, sure, just tell me like a spoiler, I don't care. And so they told me a spoiler, and I was like, okay, cool. In terms of like Heaven's Feel, I really think that the twists are really important with Heaven's Feel. Another reason why I would not recommend Fate Zero to be watched first is because it was created after Unlimited Blade Works. It was also created as a story after Fate Stay Night, the entire visual novel. So the visual novel was created with the mindset that you had never played the visual novel before because it didn't exist before. And sorry. I actually misspoke. Fate Zero did come out before Unlimited Blade Works, the anime. So technically, in terms of release order, Fate Zero, the anime, did come out before Unlimited Blade Works. And so some people will say that that's a reason to watch Fate Zero first, because it's the same studio. Ufotable did Fate Zero, then Unlimited Blade Works. But I think because Fate Zero was created as a story after the visual novel was already created, that Fate Zero had the expectation that a lot of its viewers were already fans of Fate and had already consumed Fate as a story, whereas the routes of Fate Stay Night were created assuming you knew nothing. And so that's my take on why you should watch Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works first. And I will also say the thing that people say that Stay Night spoils the ending of Fate Zero, which is true. However, I don't think that takes away from Fate Zero. I would say like the ending, it's kind of rough, right? Because they do touch upon the ending a lot in the beginning and like during Unlimited Blade Works. They talk about the main character of Fate Zero a lot as well. But I think with Fate Zero, it's more of a story that was created to show you the journey rather than the ending. So I mean, I think I just because like the twists of Fate Zero, there aren't a lot of twists, and they don't try to make too many twists, simply because it's they kind of expected you to know already what happened because you watched or read Fate Stay Night. They're not really focusing on the heavy like plot twists, whereas Heaven's Feel has so many like big twists that I feel like you're not supposed to know about. And so that's why, and I'm yapping a bit, but that's why I say Unlimited Blade Works first, Heaven's Feel, then Fate Zero. Another thing that I wanted to do later on was, if you guys know, there's a thing called the Machete Order with Star Wars, and I think it's something like you're supposed to watch like here, hold on. Star Wars Machete Order. It's you watch episode 4, then episode 5, then you go back to episode 2, episode 3, and then you watch episode 6. So it's like you watch the story of Luke, and then after episode 5, you go like flashback to the story of Anakin, and apparently this person doesn't think that you need to watch episode 1, whatever. But so you flash back to the story of Anakin becoming like Darth Vader and how he became to be. Then you go back to episode 6, and so it's like you got the reveal of that Darth Vader is Anakin, like kind of like right after episode 5, like you would normally watching it like in order. But in this way, you get like a smooth transition. And I was thinking about like trying to make something like that at the end of this this part, like once we're done with the entire spreadsheet. So yeah, so after watching Fate Zero, I put this: everything after Fate Zero can be watched in any order except the ones in their own colors. So, and so this is basically the only thing that people really get antsy about, or like butthurt about, is the order of this. So I'll probably make some people mad with this section. Beyond that, everything else is just whatever. Like, these are all in whatever order you want them to be. These two in the same color have to be watched one after the other. I also split up Prologue and Bladeworks, by the way, because some anime streaming services split it as episode 0 or like a different thing. But if you see episode 0 on your streaming service, just know that the episode Prologue follows Rin. So if you start watching and it follows Shiro first, go find the Prologue because it's pretty important. So these two, they're one after the other. This is an OVA, and it's basically episode 1. And then we have episode 1 of Strange Fake, which is the only thing out right now. I put it here just because I really like it, and it's also part of the same timeline. Everything here is part of the same timeline. Everything outside of this is not part of the same timeline. Beyond that, Fate Apocrypha is an alternate universe where the Nazis and like Dracula or some shit, they steal the Grail and then make their own Great Grail War in like Romania or something. And it has like a completely different set of servants. I think the animation kind of loses itself towards the end, in my opinion, but I know a lot of people who disagree with that. I also just don't think the story was too compelling compared to all of the Stay Nights and Fate Zero. Grand Order, I think the story was good, especially with Babylonia. I think the story was really good throughout all of this stuff. This is really just the prologue. It's fine, but it's whatever. I don't think the animation for any of these are particularly good, except for Babylonia and these two. I think these are really good. I remember watching the movies and being for Camelot and being so disappointed because I really, really, really loved Camelot in playing the game. And by the way, these are adaptations of a mobile game. So that's why it skips through like I think like France, Rome, London, and I think that's all the ones it skips through. But it basically this is the first like chapter, and then it skips like chapter 7 and 8. But yeah, so these are adaptations of the mobile game. But I think animation wise, First Order is okay. The two Camelots are so bad in my opinion, but like, and then I just couldn't watch. I don't think I've. Oh my god, I can't remember if I skipped like parts of it or not because it's just so bad. But if you are unable to play the mobile game, I recommend. And if you want to watch the story of like Grand Order and understand, like know it, I recommend watching through these. And to be honest, if you really can't sit through the movies for Camelot, you can skip them. Babylonia is honestly really, really good, and Solomon is not bad at all. So I think, yeah, that's those. You have to watch these in order, but you can skip these two, in my opinion. But like these can obviously not be in, like you can watch this before Apocrypha or after all of this or whatever. Not important which ones you watch. Like these are all alternate universes. I should have mentioned that. First Order, Grand Order is an alternate universe, just like Apocrypha. Let me take a drink. Okay. So, next up, Fate Extra Last Encore. This is a sequel to a video game. It's a sequel to Fate Extra CCC. I think it's a bad end to Fate Extra CCC. Or something like that. But it's so far in the future of Fate Extra that you kind of don't even need to play Fate Extra. But if you want to play Fate Extra, it is a PSP game that has never been translated to English, but there are patches, fan translations. If you want to watch Fate Extra Last Encore after playing the game, there is a game coming out that is supposed to come out sometime this year. I get the feeling they're gonna release it like December 31st, 2025 or some shit. I'm obviously exaggerating, but like it was slated to come out this year. It's been like 6 years since they announced this game, but the gameplay is similar to Slay the Spire and like Persona, and you might be thinking like that's like two different games entirely. Slay the Spire is a card game roguelike, and the Persona aspect part. So Fate Extra Last Record is what I'm talking about. There's a remake of the Fate Extra game, the PSP game, and it is they completely over like redid the combat system. It used to be like a rock paper scissors thing. It's terrible gameplay, but the story was good. But now the gameplay seems to be like, you can watch a trailer if you want, but it's like the Slay the Spire card game like combat where you can use a card and it'll do an attack, and there's HP bars, so it's kind of like Pokemon but with cards. And or if you've played Fate Grand Order, it's kind of similar to that, but like each card actually has its own text and effects and stuff, and each servant plays differently. So like Archer has like cards that, from what I've seen from the trailer, you use it and it doesn't attack, and then he spawns two new cards that are like 0 cost. And I believe without any like edits to your like skills or anything like that, you have 3 skill points or action points, and cards cost 0 or 3 action points within that spectrum. I think it's really, really cool combat system. It's very similar to Slay the Spire. But the Persona aspect is, it's sort of like a dungeon like thing, like kind of like Tartarus or like the palaces in Persona, where you run around and then you press a button to attack an enemy, and then when you attack the enemy, it like enters a combat scenario where you do a turn-based card thing. I think it's really, really cool. If you have the patience to hold off on it, I highly recommend playing that. And then you can watch Fate Extra Last Encore. If you don't care about the story, technically, well, sorry, not that if you don't care about the story, if you don't care about like having if you must play Fate Extra before you watch Last Encore, if you don't care about that, you can just watch it without playing the game. I think I know a lot of people who did that, and it doesn't really like matter. It's not really a continuation of that story. It doesn't really rely on the story of the video game. It's also animated by Shaft, which is really pretty, but I've heard like not the best things about Last Encore. So yeah, the Prisma Ilia. Um, animation wise, I found the two movies. Everything from like this point onward, the animation just seems kind of lacking. I don't know if I just watched these three when they were really like early on in my like anime watching, like when I was young, and I just didn't really like pay attention to whether the animation was good. But in my opinion, these three were really, really lacking in animation. Um, it just felt so like lackluster. But the story, especially, like, it's funny, really funny actually, because the story gets better over here. But when over here, it's kind of sus because they're all underage and they kind of do like etchy things to the characters. Like they put them in etchy situations and it's kind of weird. So if that puts you off, definitely don't watch it. But I will say the story is kind of interesting. When you get to if you manage to sit through all of this, when you get through these three, the story actually gets really interesting, and it becomes more fate like. Um, to describe the first like half of it, it's like magical girl fate. So like they're magical girls and they can summon the weapons of like the fate servants by using like these class cards. So they use like berserker class card, and then they can summon like the big axe sword. But then when you get to the second half, they find out that you can actually install like the card, which is what they call it, installing, and they actually gain like the abilities of that servant. And I don't want to spoil too much, but it's like you it seemed like there's a holy grail war going on that utilizes the gimmick of becoming a servant rather than summoning a servant to fight for you, which I thought was really cool. Um, so I think it's worth it to give it a shot if you can stomach the lolly etchy stuff. If not, I totally get it. Um, but the next one, I say next one. These are all watch in whatever order you feel like. Beyond Fate Zero. Today's menu for the Emiya family is really cute. I think I put a star here. Yeah, I did. Oh, Val in the Snow. I put a star here. Yeah, I really like Val in the Snow story, but the animation was kind of meh. So, today's menu for Emiya family is like an alternate universe, and I saw someone describe this. It's like I don't take credit for this analogy, but it's like someone played through the visual novel, and before the Holy Grail War like really fully kicked off, they got bored and stopped reading and closed the game, and all the servants and characters in the game were like, well, like, what do we do now? And so they just kind of sit there and like do daily life things. They like cook and like it's just like slice of life, like mostly cooking but also like shenanigans. I would say like it's sort of like a cutesy not chibi like Lucky Star kind of show, and but more focused on cooking. I would say it's like Food Wars meets Lucky Star, but in like a non-chibi but still cute kind of art style. And it's also animated beautifully, which of course it is because it's UFO Table. But oddly enough, it's a completely different style to the UFO Table art style that they use for Unlimited Blade Works and Fate Zero. It's like really bright and like pastel, and I love it so much. It's a really, really, really good watch, and I recommend that wholeheartedly. In fact, personally, I would recommend it right after watching, like the Blade Works, Heaven's Feel, and Fate Zero. But you can watch it whenever you want. You can not watch it at all if you want. By the way, if you're wondering how much you have to watch to like just kind of understand the basic of Fate, really just these. Technically, you could just watch Unlimited Blade Works or just watch Fate Zero. It's really surface level though. So yeah, if you just want to understand like base Fate, just watch that, and you'll be fine. Everything else is optional, and they're also all alternate universes. This one is actually not an alternate universe. This is actually in the timeline. This happens right before Fate's Day Night. All three routes. Which I should mention, Fate's Day Night is a visual novel dating sim thing where it splits off into three routes based on which girl you want to bang. So, this happens. You won't know who this is, but after you watch Fate Zero, you'll know one of the most lovable characters in the show. Like, just like not objectively, but like popularity wise, like people like him a lot. He becomes the main character of his own show. It's not really as servant heavy. It's not really Fate. That's why it's not named Fate something. But it's like, it's like a not murder mystery. Some of them are murder mysteries, but it's like mystery detective noir, like Sherlock Holmes style show. And it's a fun watch, and it's also animated very well compared to like this or these. But yeah, this is Carnival Phantasm. It's like a comedy spin-off of the Fate's Day Night. I think it was done by Dean as well, but it's actually animated better than the Dean's Day Night, which is funny. But honestly, if you told me that Carnival Phantasm was animated by a different studio, I might just be like, oh, okay, because I kind of don't remember exactly which studio did this one. But it's also, I don't know if you know Tsukihime, is another like work by the same author of Fate's Day Night, and it's kind of collabed with this. Or if you've ever played Melty Blood, which is also Tsukihime, but like those characters you'll see in Carnival Phantasm, as well as Eltnum, which is a character who is in Under Night in Birth as well. So if you know her from that, then you'll know her in this. But she doesn't appear that much. It's like a crossover comedy. Like, I would say this is like the most Lucky Star show, but it's even more wacky because something's just happened, and also because it's like Fate is a magical universe, that it sort of feels like things happen. Like there's like a random episode where the Holy Grail War is instead a race, and for some reason there's just like drag race cars and like stuff like that, or like the carts are one of those things you put the coins in, they go like up and down and up and down. So it doesn't always make sense compared to like Emiya Family, where it does still make sense. It's just kind of like funny. Carnival Phantasm is like off the wall funny. I still recommend it though. It's really funny. In my opinion. And after that is the two that I already talked about, the where I said they're not recommended, and there's no reason to watch the 2010 movie. And now that we're done with that, I can take you through the timeline. So we begin in 1994, Fate Zero. So if you really want to watch it, by the timeline, it starts with Fate Zero. No other timeline starts this early, but that's because this one's the most fleshed out timeline, because it's the main one. This is the world of Fate's Day Night. Immediately after Fate Zero, you get the sequel series, which came out like way later. This one came out in like 2019, but it focuses on one of the characters of Fate Zero doing his own Sherlock Holmes detective story, and this is just a spin-off of El Malloy. It's like an OVA or something, or like a movie. It's pretty fun. Immediately after, sorry, I should mention that these two take place in 2003. Immediately after these, it splits off into the three routes because of your choices in the visual novel. If you decide you want to watch, or if you want to bang Saber It splits off into the Fate Stay Night Dean series or the Fate route of the visual novel. If you decide you want to bang Rin, it splits off into the Unlimited Blade Works route anime or the route of the visual novel. And if you decide you want to bang Sakura, it splits off into the Heaven's Feel route or the Heaven's Feel movie trilogy. You might wonder why it's like not a contention. And I did talk about this before earlier, how it was made like with the fact that you'd watch Blade Works in mind. But in the actual visual novel itself, you are forced to play through the routes like in order of Stay Night, Blade Works, then Heaven's Feel. And it gets like, it's so, to describe it without too much spoilers, Stay Night is the route that offers the least attrition for the main character, Emi Ashiro, and his ideals. So throughout this route, he basically has no one tell him that his dream is stupid. In this route, somebody tells him that his dream is stupid. And in this route, I really want to get like as little spoilers as possible. But in this route, just think of like the next logical conclusion to someone tells him his dream is stupid. Basically, it just gets more and more progressively like hard for him to keep up with his ideals of like helping everyone and saving everyone. And that's kind of why it goes like this. It also goes in like order of least what's the word? Convoluted, I guess. Like it's a very like straightforward story here. Unlimited Blade Works gets like more like philosophical, and then with Heaven's Feel, like every twist and turn is like thrown at you, and he's like questioning everything, and it's all like a crazy mess. Like the entire war is like just deconstructed basically, because like the Holy Grail War is like the whole point of the show, right? And in Fate Stay Night, that's like the most like basic Holy Grail War, but by the time you're in Heaven's Feel, like the war pretty much falls apart like on day like 3. So that's pretty much why people say to watch Unlimited Blade Works first. If we had a good adaptation for Stay Night, people would say to watch Stay Night first. And some people still do say to watch Stay Night first, but I really don't recommend you do that. So the compromise is you watch Blade Works first, and then you watch Heaven's Feel. Regardless of whether you watch Fate Zero before all of this or after this. Strange Fakes happens 5 years after the Stay Night, the events of Stay Night, regardless of which route it happens on, because it never pays any mention to any specific events of the 3, so it doesn't really matter which route it follows behind. So I don't think we know which route it falls behind. It's just kind of like an amalgamation thing. There's also a video game called Hollow Ataraxia, or a visual novel rather, that is a sequel to Stay Night that happens pretty much like a week after or something. And you can play that if you feel like it. It is pretty good, so I've heard. I'm still in the process of playing it myself, which is why I've been streaming Stay Night, the visual novel, is because I wanted to play Hollow Ataraxia after Stay Night. So, beyond that, if we move on to the side grades, so this is weird. So with the Prismailla series, there's actually 2 worlds that belong to this series, and without too much spoilers, there are 2 characters, and one of them, there's one universe that like basically kickstarts the entire thing with the plot of Vow in the Snow. Even though I still say you should watch it after Dry, and that's like very obvious. Like it's not it's not like very hotly debated. It's just you should watch it after Dry. But it does kickstart the plot of Prismailla in Ilya's world. I realize I'm kind of spoiling it, but yeah, that's how the timeline works. so I won't say too much more. Moving on to Fate Apocrypha. This is just by itself. It's in its own world. Today's menu for the Emmy family is an alternate world of Fate's Day Night, and so is Carnival of Phantasm, but they're not connected. So those are all the side grades, at least in terms of everything that happens in 2004. Beyond that, if we skip forward to 2015, Fate Grand Order happens and ends in 2016 in terms of where the anime stops. The game keeps going, and there's a lot more story content, which is considered even better than all this, but none of it has even been planned to be animated. So, for now, anime only. It starts in 2015, ends in 2016. In an alternate world of Fate Grand Order, I actually never mentioned Fate Grand Carnival. It's sort of like Carnival Phantasm, but for Fate Grand Order. So a lot of wacky slapstick comedy. Really only for fans of Fate Grand Order. If you've never played Fate Grand Order, you probably won't get most of the jokes, but it's still kind of funny. I mean, it was worth a shot if you have nothing else to watch. There's only 4 episodes too, and they're like 12 minutes long. Fate Extra, Last Encore, takes place in 3020, which is why it doesn't really matter if it happens after Fate Extra or not. Because I mean, Fate Extra does happen like in like the future, but Fate Extra Last Encore happens like 100 years after the events of I can't remember. It's like a really long time after Fate Extra. So not only is Fate Extra the video game like 1,000 years after the events of Fate's Day Night or stuff like that. Actually, it's in its alternate world. Even like when I say after the events of Fate's Day Night, I mean after 2004, where the events of Fate's Day Night would have taken place had it been that timeline. But it isn't. So yeah, so even beyond that, it's like 1,000 years after is what the Fate Extra game takes place in. And then like even further down the line after that is where Fate Extra Last Encore takes place. But like a lot of years. So yeah, it doesn't not matter if you play the game or not, but if you wanted to, we are getting Fate Extra what is it called? Fate Extra, oh my god, I'm blanking. Record. What is it? Fate Extra. Is it just Fate Extra Record? Okay. And that's everything here. I mean, I have the links here. You can I don't support piracy, but you know. But okay, so we've finished here. I can make a new. Can I make like a? Here you go. So, we could now do the machete, thing that I wanted to do. So currently we have these. How would I make a machete order for Fate's Day Night? So, if I want Fate's Day Night Unlimited Blade Works to not spoil Fate Zero. Oh man, actually this is really rough. Cause I think it spoils the whole like Heaven Seal thing. Like literally, while it's introducing Berserker's Master, so like in episode 1 it spoils Heaven's Feel. So like. No, there's literally no way you could do this because it's like a fucking Ouroboros. Because, ooh, you know what? I believe. No, that wouldn't work. Okay. Okay. This is strange, but I think what we should do is it'd be like the prologue. You'd watch the prologue first, and then you would watch episodes 1 through like hold on, Fate's Day Night Unlimited Blade Works episodes. So I recently was watching this with Effie and NJ, and I believe the episode where they reveal most of the stuff that happens at the end of Zero is episode 9. which fucking sucks. So I think instead... Oh man, that would fucking suck, dude. I think... So I think, okay. I think what we should do is we should watch episode 1 through 2 of... Or episode 1 of... Oh, shit. No, there's no way this works because Heaven's Feel spoils 0 too. Actually. Not too much, actually. It really feels like Unlimited Blade Works was the one they spoiled most. So... I think we watch episode 1 of Blade Works. Right? And... beyond that, then we go to Heaven's Feel 1 through 3, right? And then after that, we watch 0. And then we watch Unlimited Blade Works. UBW 2 through 25? I think it ends on 25. Yes. So, there's also a good scenario, so you can watch UBW Sunny Day. So, I think this is good. Haven't been able to say much because work is busy, but try me to say you've been great Professor Mallow's introduction to Fates Night. Thanks. So, okay, so the way this works now, with this machete order, is you get the prologue in episode 1 to catch you up on what happens, and then you can go straight into Heaven's Feel. And unfortunately, this means you lose out on the progression of, like, least complicated to most, like, balls to the walls complicated that you get when you watch Blade Works then Heaven's Field after. But I think that's a decent enough sacrifice because you're not being spoiled by anything too much. I don't think Heaven's Field spoils a ton other than something about the Holy Grail that is kind of a twist, but honestly, it's like a twist in every Fate Stay Night. Like with Blade Works, Heaven's Field 0, it all ends in the twist. So it doesn't really matter that you get the twist in Heaven's Feel rather than 0 or Limited Blade Works. So you do get spoiled on a specific character being kind of evil, but I mean, he gets revealed like that anyways, and it's better than being spoiled through the entirety of the ending of Fate 0. So I think the way that I don't think they do so with Unlimited Blade Works, they put like a whole backstory for a character that I think they cut for time in Heaven's Feel, which is good. So I think the way this will work is you're basically watching Heaven's Feel first, which I know sounds weird to most people who watch Fate because it's like, oh, why would you watch Heaven's Feel first? That's like, you shouldn't. But if you're really looking to not get spoiled, to get spoiled the least, this is probably how you have to watch it. And I know Heaven's Feel cuts out a lot, which gets filled in by Unlimited Blade Works. So it's kind of rough. But I wouldn't recommend this over watching it like the way we're at, like this way. But if you're really looking to not get spoiled, I think you should do this. Prologue of Blade Works, episode 1 of Blade Works, watch all 3 Heaven's Feel movies, then watch 0, then watch the rest of Limited Blade Works. I think that's how it should be done. And that's how you get the least amount of spoilage possible. No, actually. Huh. Well, no, because Heaven's Feel still spoils 0. Just not as much as Unlimited Blade Works. Yeah, this is fucked. There's literally no way. I say watch it like this. Like, I say there's, like, the least amount of spoilage possible, but that's only because Heaven's Feel cuts it for time. And it's really information that you kind of need. That's why people say to watch Unlimited Blade Works first. So I really don't recommend this, actually. God, why is a series like this? Anyway. So there's that. And to fill out the rest of the time. Hey, you guys want to go? I'm gonna mute real quick and see if they want to agree to something. So I'll be right back. Hold on. Shh. Okay, I'm back. So to round it all off, I'm gonna just check my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. Let me reset this real quick. You can you can play Hollow Araxi on Steam. There's a game called Fate Samurai Remnant, which is also in its own world. It takes place in Edo period Japan, I think, if I remember correctly. I can't remember. It's just like old-timey Japan with samurais and stuff. It's really cool. I recommend it. It's sort of like a... It's not like a Warriors game. It's sort of like a hack and slash, though. I think it's pretty cool. It's just not an anime, but so I didn't include it here. But I do recommend checking it out if you want to play some video game. And that's everything on my list. Since it's pretty much been an hour, I might say today is a short stream. And I just ended here. So yeah, it might be a short stream. To make up for it, maybe I'll stream tomorrow too. No, not tomorrow. I'm gonna be busy tomorrow. I'll stream like some. I'll make up for it by streaming a lot more tomorrow. Tomorrow week. Pfft. By streaming next week a bit more. I really want to do more Spiral Nights. I think that's my like fixation at the moment. And if chat you would like to join me by playing Spiral Nights, you definitely can. I know at least one person wanted to join me. So I of course would love to play Spiral Nights with fans. So yeah. Since we're at 2 p.m., I'll end the stream off there. I know it's a short stream, but I didn't really have much to talk about. Besides, you know, all the stuff I want to get through. But yeah, so take care. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Definitely Monday. Maybe Sunday, but definitely Monday. Bye. Where the fuck is my...